We have 59 years of being ignored, and that has created a huge barrier for the tribes and for the states.
Judge Abby, as she's commonly referred to, is well known for her work in the legal field, including being the first Native American woman to be a member of the California State Bar. She joined tribal leaders, advocates, law enforcement, and others in Sacramento for a day devoted to justice issues. While her work with the Yurok Tribe, located more than 300 miles northwest of the state's capital city, centers on wellness.
Essentially what we're trying to do at home is to build a court system that would have been sort of the natural evolution of our value system. So that means that our practices are much different than what you learn in the state court. So my job there is to help people return to their responsible roles in community. And that's what we do. That's our value and that's our practices. So we have a lot more intensive work with each person that comes before the court, and we ask them to think of us as members of their extended family who have special expertise. And that's what we work on. So it's very different than what you would see in a state court. And we're very tied into it. I refer to state courts as stranger justice, and ours is not that. We're a family, and we have family responsibilities to each other and to place, and to everything that's in place.
Traditional values are a vital part of the justice system.
For us, we look at culture as a way of living. These are how you live. This is what your value system is as a human being, and these are your responsibilities. And once you get people back into that, walking on that road, they just act differently. And we've had the invasion brought us a lot of problems, and we have to face those, and we have to push them back. And the other part of that is that as we push them back and as we show people how to push them back, they can learn a lot from us on how to do that too, because it isn't just us that's impacted by this. And we have ways of responding to it. And one of the mistakes that the culture as a whole made, I think, is the whole melting pot idea. Okay, you come here, so now you're in the melting pot. No, you guys all came from a culture. And that culture, before the Industrial Revolution, had everybody living in villages. And trust me, you could not act like many of you act now if you were in a village. It would not have been allowed, period. And so everybody needs to remember that and develop practices consistent with today's needs based on that value system. We have a lot of, we call advocates. They're like mentors, friends, who are really take after the role culturally of aunts and uncles, and they walk with people, they help them, they talk to them, they're there for them, and they become part of their extended family. And they have special expertise. How do you, look, you need to test today, you didn't test, and if you're dirty, then just tell me, and we'll figure out what we're going to do about it. So we get people, we encourage people, and we help them find their way back. We work with the state courts. We go, look, if you let us have this person back after they've pled and before you sentence them, give them to me for a year and let me see if we can get this straightened out. And if they can, maybe you can reconsider what the conviction will look like. Maybe it can be reduced, maybe it can be dismissed. We do that. We work with other wellness. We work with behavioral health. We work with housing. We work with all the requirements that they have not kept. We try to get them back on the road to where they need to be in society.
Tribal officials also see the essential need for justice issues to include traditional knowledge, culture, and spirituality.
As a tribal man myself, before I was a council member, we get lost in this colonial society. And then, colonialism has stripped away most of everything that we are. That's why a lot of our people are in addiction and alcoholism, because they don't know who they are. Where do they fit in this world? And so part of that keeps us going in that is our traditions, our dances, our ceremonies. And one of the most basic parts I think that people miss is your prayer. The elders teach you to pray every day before you wake up. You wash your face, you pray, and then you start your day. and a lot of the people don't get that. And so we're trying to replicate that to give a person, you know, something to live for in their life, something to aspire to be, you know, be clean, a reason to be holy, because the Creator, He listens to your prayers when you're pure. You know, you fast and you pray, and you purge your body of the impurities so you can have that connection with the Creator.
The Yurok Tribe and Judge Abby's work are not just on the reservation. They're helping other tribes and the urban Native population through their close connection with the Friendship House. The social service organization's founder, the late Helen Wakazu, was a close friend of Judge Abby.
I call Abby my big sister, and I always follow her lead. But what's really unique about Judge Abby is she was the president of the Friendship House board for nearly 15 years. Her and Helen were soul sisters, and they were always plotting, and they always had these, you know, incredible dreams and visions. And one of them was to build inpatient services up in Northern California that will serve not just the Yurok, but the 8 surrounding tribes. And then in turn, a lot of the clients who come to Friendship House are from the Yurok Nation. And what we've seen is that when a Native relative goes through recovery, oftentimes when they leave the program, they can't return back to their tribal territory. So they oftentimes stay in San Francisco for a year or longer. They live here, they get job training, they get work. And so we have a lot of Yurok tribal members who are part of our staff and who live in and around the San Francisco Bay Area. So the Yurok are also helping us to build housing for tribal members here in City and County.
Friendship House services include substance abuse treatment, a youth program, and recovery for women with children and expectant mothers. Those involved with the Indigenous-led organization believe culture is medicine.
When they built this facility, they had a ceremony first. They gathered everyone and they prayed about it. And they also prayed that we would have this here. This is the only sweat lodge in the middle of San Francisco. What I think makes Friendship House so amazing and so incredible is that it centers traditional practices, ceremonial practices, as its treatment model. And I think that's what resonates for Natives, no matter where they come from. They understand that language and they have a deep sense of belonging, and that really propels the healing process. And again, going back to our founder, Helen Wakazu, who was taken as a small child, kidnapped, I like to say, from her family and sent to a boarding school. And then during the 50s, during relocation, she was relocated to San Francisco, and of course, assured that there would be housing, there would be job supports. There was nothing. And it was really out of that experience that Helen and 3 other Navajo women built the Friendship House into what it is today. She put a stake in the ground, back in the early 80s, and started bringing traditional people to work with our clients. And that was a very radical thing to do back then. But that essential cultural aspect of our program now, that has become a standard throughout Indian country. And that's really what makes Friendship House so powerful, is that it centers culture, identity, and traditional practices.
So in the last 3 months, we've actually brought in 9 different individual traditional practitioners to work with our clients. It's really important because it helps build trust with our clients. They're dealing with intergenerational trauma. In order for them to open up and address those issues, they need to trust us. They need to know that we've been through it, that we understand, that we're not going to judge them for those things. And so by bringing in these traditional practitioners, that's a big part of that. It's also important because we look at the healing process in terms of interconnected between the spiritual, the mental, the physical, and being able to address all those different things that comes out of our culture. A big part of it again goes back to trust. Our clients need to know that we're here and that we understand what they're going through. We've been through it. These are other people that have been through it. The way we're going to help them is something they can identify with. Being able to serve the Natives in this area is a big deal. They don't have anywhere else to go. The other places, there's not that trust. They're used to being dismissed, not understood. You know, there's things that natives have been through, that their families have been through, and other cultures just don't get that, and that's part of why they come to us.
But look at this, we are moving. Construction zone.
The Friendship House is expanding with the Village Project, which will also be a cultural and spiritual hub.
Helen always had a vision to go farther and do more, and she really wanted to see Native people thrive. And so her vision included eventually doing housing for elders, building a youth program, creating clean and sober living for relatives who graduate from the program to transition, to do job training, and even farming. Before Helen sadly left us a few years ago, she kind of charged us with fulfilling her vision. And so the Village SF really is that. And so it's this next generation of Native leaders who are trying to, you know, bring that vision to fruition. So the Village SF, as you can see when you came in, you know, there's construction has begun. We're building a 6-story social service and cultural hub that will offer medical, dental, behavioral health services. We're gonna house our Women's Lodge program there, where young mothers, young American Indian mothers can go through recovery with their small children. It's gonna have a youth program, elder services. It'll have a supportive housing component. The crowning jewel would be a rooftop farm, which will produce 4,000 pounds of traditional foods and medicines every year.
A vision Judge Abby shares.
We need to work more with the urban population because many of our people went to the urban area, and a lot of the relocated people have been in the urban area, and we need to team up because our like value systems will help them and will help the communities they live in. You know, so I think we have a lot of benefit to give, and that's what we're trying to do. And working with the Friendship House now is really just a continuation of that. We've had, I don't know how many people go through Friendship House over the years, you know, and come back and really, really provide leadership and stability to our community. So I feel like we have an obligation, you know, a mutual obligation to them.
In California, I'm Antonia Gonzales.
This story is supported by the Public Welfare Foundation, committed to advancing a transformative approach to justice that is community-led, restorative, and racially just. Learn more at publicwelfare.org.